That's a free inspection, up to 32% off, and 2 free Browns jerseys with a qualified purchase at leaffilter.com/UCSS. Offer valid on a first-come, first-served basis while supplies last. Full terms and conditions can be found at leaffilter.com/UCSS. See representatives for warranty details. And with that, we got Bernie Kosar in studio. What's up, Bernie?
Bernie!
Hey, guys.
What's happening?
You know, I know it's not the first time we've said this, but it's hard to believe that the Browns have not had consistently good quarterback play since Bernie was quarterback. I mean, think about that.
That's been your take since day one.
It's crazy.
Well,
Bernie, no offense, you're not a young man.
I know. As
You think
evidenced by-
somewhere along the line they would have had somebody.
Well, I was going to comment on your not a young man statement as a guy who now qualifies for his 401k.
There you go.
And qualifies for a pension and stuff in
Social Security?
retirement. You're absolutely right.
That's right. It's. Does it stun you that they've just not been able to get it right since you at this position?
Stun, I'm not sure that's maybe the right word
Yeah.
because, and I'm not, and maybe I'll say this to be funny, and I'm not saying this to be pointed, and it's not a passive-aggressive jab or that, but statistically, you would think it's almost impossible to be struggling at this type of level, and right now, I want to come here today. I think all of us want to come here today and be super positive and have a great outlook of what's going to transpire, the rest of the season and into the future. And I was grasping at straws in the parking lot trying to find a couple, and every one of those straws blew out of my pocket by the way I got in here. So,
Bernie, what was your thoughts when you learned that Kevin is not calling the plays and Ken is this week?
Bluntly, I'd like to see it, I guess, but bluntly, the issue right now, I put myself in the spot if I was the quarterback or I was the play caller, what could I do to be successful, to not sit here next week and feel terrible from a tough performance? And I'm again grasping at those same straws, and I'm not sure how much it really matters right now in terms of that. I think there's the thing that we talked about so much through the course of the season of what's our personality. Are we spread and throwing and 2-minute type stuff, or are we a running type team like the end of last year? Has kept us to where we haven't really developed any personality just yet. And now, whether it's unfortunately, watching Deshaun's Achilles go out with the quarterback change coming, I'm not sure that it's not even like, I want to say it's going to be like last year, and you're going to be able to go back and you're being able to run the ball and do play action. But this isn't even apart from the quarterback, we're not even close to the same team depth-wise offensive. There's so many other holes here in offense. I'm not trying to just pile on the offensive line, but the inability to pass protect's been a massive issue. It's awesome having Nick Chubb back, and I did a other interview and a podcast with Eric Metcalf, and Eric Metcalf, being a disciple of running backs and an athletic dude himself, was so impressed at Nick Chubb's return and the athleticism and the abilities that he's able to show coming off of an injury like that, which we would think is awesome. And as you look at those stats, you want to throw up at 2 yards a carry. And that's with a guy who came back healthy and looking good, and he's only getting 2 yards a carry. So I'm not sure where we really go offensively to where you could have any level of consistency in the short run.
I guess, Bernie, I don't think that Stefanski would give up play calling on his own. I mean, I just don't think he's been asked the question for years about it, and he's been very adamant to not want to change his philosophy, and he got the job because he's a really smart guy offensively. I just wonder what's going on behind the scenes, because it was Amari Cooper, that was the 1 week they tried to do the Band-Aid. Okay, let's trade Amari. Then it's Deshaun gets injured. The quarterback situation's up in the air in terms of talking about, like, is it DTR? Is it going to be Jameis? They want DTR. I don't think DTR is better than Jameis. I think Jameis gives you a better chance to win, so that was surprising. And then on top of that, now this week's Band-Aid is no play call for Stefanski. So I just wonder, it's October 24th. What's next week?
Yeah. Well, Typically, I've done this dance before, and it's 2024, but it could be 1999, and it seems like deja vu, history left onto itself, tends to recreate itself.
It's amazing.
And these type issues, we do know what's in store. Okay, we're going to have a
yeah.
high draft pick. Okay,
Yeah.
we're
Oh,
going
no
to
doubt.
lose games.
Yeah,
I
probably
mean,
new- probably a
and
new
I'm not
coach.
saying that to make a quote. I'm not trying that to be, again, it's not passive aggressive. It's not to dog anybody, but I went from a young man like you guys doing this stuff to an old man on retirement doing that same conversation, and knowing that losing is inevitable with this.
Bernie, we were talking about quarterbacks before, and these guys were saying how, they're changing schools. A lot of guys are changing schools every year. The coach is in their ear telling them, hey, look out for this safety, look out for this linebacker, whatever. Obviously, when you played, you knew everything that was going on the field. I mean, nobody was whispering in your ear.
You had to.
Yeah.
And are they hurting these kids by giving them too much?
So
Giving them too little.
too
Yeah,
little
well,
and then
yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
They don't believe in not giving them room to grow, and then they are talking to them too much during that. And that sounds good in the heat of battle, but right now a lot of coaches, it's a crux, and I could go into a whole neuroscience, neuropsychology, wannabe Sigmund Freud analysis of human behavior and stuff, and it absolutely parlays into things like this. They are absolutely making it hard to develop quarterbacks, and a lot of the coaches, again, I'm not trying to pick on coaches, but they yap too much and they're not comfortable and confident in themselves, so their defense mechanism is to over chatter at guys, and it's mainly because they haven't taught it and educated the people for the foundational knowledge that you need to make those decisions yourself. And when, Dustin, it was cool how you were kind of talking under your breath, but you kind of had to back then. You had to, and you either died out there and didn't learn, okay, and you weren't going to ever play again, or you kept learning and you progressed and figured out how to do it. And I said a lot, the Jimmy Johnson, somehow, some way, and that's somehow, some way in that 20 seconds that you're completely by yourself and in the middle of that football field with 80,000 people watch at the stadium and millions of people watching you on TV, that having that 10 or 15 seconds of alone time where you're the only one that could do it, that makes you really grow, or you buckle to it. And kids haven't really grown enough because it is almost a crux with stuff in your ear.
There's training wheels on the bike still with a lot of these quarterbacks, and I get it. If I was an offensive coordinator in college, I would love it too, because if you feel like the kid needs that guidance, you have an opportunity now to talk to him for 20 seconds.
Yeah, and I find myself too, as much as I say, shut up, don't talk, I talk too much here, I would see myself at those college games, and I see the adjustments, and you see, man, when you're doing the games, I know you see the coverages, you know them. You wouldn't be able to stop with 20 seconds to go on the 30-second clock and say, hey, no, check out of that. Come here to the three receiver set.
You know, Bernie, like back when you played, and when I played, and when Tyvis played, it's not that long ago. The calls were so long. The terminology was so detailed, and I'm not saying that would be easy. I think it would be very difficult. But there's so many things in there. At least it made you aware. It made you have to understand people's position groups, what they're doing, right? What everyone's responsibility is, and now it's just totally different. I mean, you've got a play call that's 2 words, and it's a one-read deal. So
That's impossible. The play's only 2 words now.
Okay, maybe a sarcastic.
I was
maybe
about to
five. Maybe
I
5
was
words.
to
But
say-
it's not a sentence. It's not like the guys in the huddle doing the whole John Gruden X Y banana spider 2 3 whatever it may be.
I sat there one day and heard the offense do that.
It's crazy.
I was playing DB, and I'm sitting there in the huddle listening to them. I have no idea what none of this means.
Bernie, can you give us an example of a call from when you played?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was kind of thinking that, and this one would be kind of rudimentary to basic / short, but yeah, you would do move, zig, 2 flip wide, short 60, Y option, X smash, Z read, H hinge, F chip check through.
He'd go through every
Basically, yeah, you
That's
tell it
one play.
And that was
because
one
you're telling
play.
every receiver what he
through.
got.
And that is because you would tell each
Yeah.
play, and I made an adjustment on that with an X read that tends to be a smash with a bow out where you give a
Zen
read
means
for,
Z and Mo Z in.
and the Z in for it, right? Exactly. And then
Crazy. That's what I said.
And then for that, so just for that, which was very a basic one, then if you've got to keep telling that to your QB with 15 and 12 seconds, then you're going to add, okay, watch the strong safety blitz, or you got a Molly read to the strong side, so if the Mike and Sam come, you've got a dual read hot, and you've got to hit the second receiver in on either an eye contact or a flat route for that. And those type things, if you've got to be told that in the heat of battle, then you're just not reacting. And if that's not a core part of your foundation, you should just really know that. In the old days,
if I was an OC, I would want my quarterback to have more responsibility. And you give him the responsibility through the week of practice, and you go into the game. And the only thing I'd really put in the headset, other than the play call, is encouragement. And
I don't
that's it.
think, but see, I
would
don't
be
belief.
encouraging
Belief
you got
in
this, you got
yourself.
this, you're playing
You
great.
got
I feel like
you got it,
I feel like for them nowadays, I don't think that they're giving them the play like that. I think they probably giving them a wristband and telling them a number, like 20.
No, I mean, the coaches I talk to, I mean, they're not going off wristbands. I mean, they're going off what they
This
they tell them.
in college,
The green dot, yeah. I mean,
man.
and then they can't help
and
them.
they try to give it to them where because they cut it off with. Oh God, I forget. I think it's 15 seconds.
It's 15
on the play
seconds,
clock,
but
yeah.
see that's part of back in the master's program of stealing signals and messing with other teams. They're radio frequencies. So a technical idiot like me knew how to tap into the radio frequencies, and they're all open towards not the 15 seconds like they're supposed to cut off. They thought it was an advantage to keep them open to the end. I couldn't stand somebody talking in my ear with 4, 5, 3 seconds to go.
It's like having Mikey in our ear telling us we got a break.
Yeah, so they could you would be able to rig it that way, but also you're able to jam it when the defensive guys were going to get, like the defensive player, you could jam their signals so that it would be not come in. So those things do happen.
All kinds of shady behavior.
Let me ask you, now that Jameis is going to be starting this week, when you watch Jameis from back in the day and now you think about this Browns offense, what's realistic expectations that you can expect to see from him?
So I hope that this really, I go back to the first preseason game when Deshaun didn't play, and we sat here in these seats, and I talked about a square in that he threw from I left flip, which is a 2-back, 1 tight end, 2 receivers to the right side, and he did a play action pass to the fullback tailback, and there was a post square, and there's basically 7 guys blocking, 3 guys out. They've been running that play since Paul Brown. Did that. I've run it. I love it. And Jameis Winston ran it and hit it. That was in the spirit of the Joe Flacco and the stuff we saw in the second half of the season last year. So you could see Jameis has been versed in things like that, and I'd like to see those type of plays be way more implemented. One, I think Jameis showed that he does that good. He has experience in it, and one, it mitigates the thing we've been talking about the line uncertainty, and we aren't set up to block 5-man protections. It's a death wish. It's jailbreaks out the backside. So this will at least get a chance to mitigate some of the pass rush, give him a little bit of a chance, and then he was standing in there looking at those intermediate throws. And I like with those type plays, you have the check downs more in front of you as opposed to check wides like you have in the spread game.
Bernie, I got something positive for you. We finally, last week we were wondering when Amari Cooper got traded, would Jerry Jeudy become the main target? Would it be Elijah Moore? It ended up being Cedric Tillman. He played his best game as a pro. You know, we've seen the Browns draft 3 years in a row a wide receiver in the 3rd round. None of them have panned out. Tillman is trending down a bust road from the 3rd round, but he had a really good game. Is that promising going forward, or more likely an anomaly?
So I went into this season And if you would have told me what, and we did talk a little bit about this, one of the kind of guys that I was impressed with the end of last year was Cedric Tillman.
Yeah.
And he was a guy that was known as a tall, skinny, fast guy with body catch and stuff. And I noticed him massively using his hands. So he developed his hands, or you could tell he was working on that his rookie year. Yeah, he had the bad drop, okay? So that bad drop is fixated in probably his head and all of our heads right now, and that is an issue for him to dig his backside out of that. But I feel like I've been doing this for 25 years since the team came back in terms of trying to figure out a youth movement. But I love Amari Cooper. It's great how he ended up playing last week in Buffalo. I wish he'd be still doing it here for a playoff-ready team, but we're obviously not going to the playoffs this year. So, one, it's going to at least give us those guys a chance to practice and play. And we also saw Thrash in the game also, playing some for the first time this year. I'd like to see more of him. And for sure, if I was trying to think about the future, I want to see Cedric Tillman, because his speed and his ability, if he could develop his hands, that would be a big help.
Let me ask you about the offense. Now that Nick Chubb is back, do you think, because Ken Dorsey's calling the plays, do you think that they will try to operate more out of shotgun and use Nick Chubb that way? Or do you think it's going to be a mixture of the old Kevin and Ken's new stuff and still go under center with Nick Chubb?
So the reality is that we're not, again, I'm not saying this to be any shots. I prefer to be able to go home this weekend and not have to talk too much about all this. We're not going to the playoffs, and we love Nick Chubb. Okay, we're going to be hard pressed to be any good next year too. Okay, so it's not like a Christmas toy. We got Nick back. Let's not, please God, don't use him 25, 30 times. Please don't make him run the ball from shotgun all the time with these jailbreaks. Don't put him under center. Give him some blocking type stuff. You could do some of that shotgun, but checking wides and sometimes in those spread type things where guys are flying at you, they could be falling down on your legs and stuff. We don't need that. He doesn't need to be subjected to this right now. And he'd fight me probably and argue with anybody who probably said don't play him as much. But right now, man, as us players, we got to be helped from ourselves sometimes. And I think as much as that great, awesome young man's going to want to get out there and do whatever it takes, I think we as adults have to be judicious with him so that it doesn't keep getting worse in terms of next year's potential guys we need. Because here we are, it's not Halloween, and we're thinking of next year.
Yeah. If you think about it, the Browns, you said they're not going to the playoffs, which is true. In the last 50,
win 10 straight.
Yeah, good luck with that. In the last 50
and I
years,
thought I lived in Disney World.
Yeah, right. In the last 50 some odd years, since 1972, the Browns have never gone to the playoffs in consecutive seasons, except when Bernie was there, 85 to 89, you guys went to the playoffs 5 years in a row. That's it. In the last 50 years, they've not gone back-to-back years any other time except for those 5 years. My question about that is, when you go to the playoffs every year, and if I remember correctly, when you went in 85, you guys were only 8-8, right?
Yes.
And then the records got better after that. But is there something like, are there some players that kind of rest on their laurels a little bit because they're like, we made the playoffs last year, should be easy this year? Is there some, as the leader of the team, do you have to get that out of guys?
Wow, you get me fired up here. I'll stay longer on this if you want, because that is how your top handles life. Is how everybody else does, and that's where I loved how I believe the Belichick Tom Brady model works so great, because Bill was OCD obsessive, and so was Tom, and being able to never be satisfied, and you weaned everybody else out. Yeah. To a lesser degree, I firmly believe that I was really like that. And there was no happiness in just being in the playoffs.
Right.
Even though truthfully you were. Okay, because the only thing worse than losing in the playoffs is not being in the playoffs and being home for Christmas watching it. And I never wanted to be the guy not being able to play in the big games and stuff. So, like, that mentality of knowing that and believing that at all cost was really monumental on it. And it really I derived that. Marty was like that. He believed, he used to say the gleam and the Super Bowl and the championship was it. And then I really, when you first said it's been 50 years, I'm first got selfish and started thinking, damn, I'm on my 40th year anniversary of the Hail Flutie pass coming up this year. And that team and the way we thought about it then, and then came to Cleveland that very next year, that obsessiveness with never being satisfied, and the championship was the only thing that mattered. If you don't have that, and then your culture at top, if you rest on your laurels, you get.
Were there guys, like, obviously you don't want to name names, but were there guys on the Browns like that you had to, like, hey, get your you-know-what together? We didn't accomplish anything yet.
No, I'll tell you, that team, because they wouldn't have survived with Marty. They wouldn't have made. Back then, there was they would bring 100, 110, 120 players into camp without guaranteed contracts. I mean, in success, they were whacking guys every week. Right. I mean, the rosters never stayed the same. Even when you were really good, so nobody ever really got comfortable. And if you were comfortable, you had to mask it because everything was high intensity.
Makes sense. Bernie, great stuff as always, man. Good to see you.
Man.
Let's see if they can get a win. You think they can win this week? I'm not feeling good about it.
The Cavs are going to win tonight. It's the home opener. We're going to win this weekend.
Who have Canes got this week?
Oh, so I'll be down. We got Canes, Florida State. Florida State coming in, and then
Florida State's terrible.
They're 1-6, right?
And then the medical side of me is going to be down with the Dolphins and Tua, and he's coming back.
Good luck to your Canes.
What did you think about his decision not to wear the Guardian cap?
Well, there's a lot. I don't mind when people wear the Guardian cap and you probably should. Maybe the aesthetics, you don't look as good. Yeah. But there's a whole science for the young people down there and the young mothers, and I'm not trying to pick on the helmet people, but the good-looking helmets and the cap still don't mitigate that the skull is and the brain is hovering in water, and the skull so it bangs from the inside out as much as the outside in. That causes a lot of issues for younger kids.
Yeah, I just got back from your hood, Miami, last night, by the way.
You did the FIU?
The FIU game.
I was. I wanted to have a little. I didn't want to distract from talking about the Deshaun stuff, but I was watching a little Pitbull Stadium.
Yeah. Well, your hood was good to me, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've never really been to Miami. It's a sweet town.
Yeah,
I've never really. I mean, seriously, I've been to like South Florida, but never like. I stayed in Miami. Like, it was pretty cool.
Yes. You were down on Brickell,
We were down on Brickell,
yeah.
Best fried chicken I ever had. It was a place called Yardbird in Miami.
Yardbird?
Have you been there, bro?
Yes, I have been there. Yes. Yeah.
I had a great lunch yesterday.
So I know I'm running over, but like I got to get your flight information, because when I made the turn today, I'm like, how the heck did you get up here from Miami? Because before I went to bed, I had too much information for the listeners, but I was watching Dustin Fox talking at Pitbull Stadium.
There you go.
Oh, I needed your jet yesterday, Bernie.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Bernie.